President Biden promised to take revenge after the explosions at Kabul's international airport. The Peruvian parliament resumes this Friday the discussion on the vote of confidence to the cabinet of ministers. Over 1,000 Nigerian students who had been held hostage since May in Kaduna State were released by their captors. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, this is From the South. I am Ray Gomez. We begin with the news. U.S. President Joe Biden promised to take revenge after the explosions at Kabul's international airport. During his remarks from the White House on Thursday afternoon, Biden reported on the U.S. service members killed, calling them heroes. He said the U.S. has an obligation to continue fighting terror. His message to those responsible for the attacks was, "We will hunt you down and make you pay." In this context, the president sought to differentiate between the Taliban and ISIS, which has claimed responsibility for the attacks. In this context, also Biden pledged to continue evacuations by the established deadline. In response to questions from reporters about whether the U.S. should remain on Afghan soil, he laid blame for the swift exit with former President Donald Trump, although he did not refer to his responsibility in the Afghanistan war by the time he was vice president during Obama's administration.
We will not be deterred by terrorists. We will not let them stop our mission. We will continue the evacuation. I've also ordered my commanders to develop operational plans to strike ISIS-K assets, leadership, and facilities. We will respond with force and precision at our time, at the place we choose, in the moment of our choosing.
The death toll in Thursday's train explosion in Kabul's airport rose to 110. The number of injured also continued to rise, with many still looking for their loved ones. Meanwhile, U.S. Central Command said new attacks are being prepared. The airport crowded with people trying to flee the country. Now lies clear. The Taliban set up a roadblock around the airport with armored vehicles, and now any Afghan who wants to reach that place must pass through them.
One of my brothers was at the airport. He wanted to fly abroad. Unfortunately, he is missing after the back-to-back blast. I don't know whether he is inside the airport or not. U.S. troops are not allowing anyone to go there. Since yesterday, I have been searching all the hospitals in Kabul, but have not been able to find him.
On Friday, General Hent Taylor said there was only a single explosion at Kabul's airport.
For you, that we do not believe that there was a second explosion at or near the Baron Hotel, that it was one suicide bomber. We're not sure how that report was provided incorrectly, but we do know, it's not any surprise, that in the confusion of very dynamic events like this can cause information sometimes to be misreported or garbled.
U.S. Department of Defense seems to be correct in its own intelligence reports regarding the Kabul's airport events. On Thursday, the Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby confirmed a second explosion near the Baron Hotel. The latest statements also contradict the recent reports of a second blast. More international reactions after the twin suicide bombings at Kabul's airport. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Russia condemns the terrorist attacks and expresses condolences to the families of those who died.
We join in condemning the terrorist attacks and express condolences to the families of the dead. And, of course, we see this as an additional need to speed up the provision of assistance to the Afghans so that they can set up without any further delay an inclusive interim government involving all the main political forces of the country. There is no doubt that the risk projected from Afghanistan, primarily those provoked by the flows of illegal immigrants, will be the focus of our leaders' discussions, as well as the issues of helping Afghans to ensure stability and normal functioning of civil institutions in their country.
China's authorities asked the Afghan Taliban to completely make a clear break with all terrorist organizations and clear obstacles to regional security.
The Afghan Taliban have made it clear to China that no forces will be allowed to use Afghan territory to do anything harmful to China. The Afghan Taliban should earnestly fulfill their commitments and make a total clean break with all terrorist organizations, resolutely crack down on the team, and clear obstacles to regional security, stability, development, and cooperation. China firmly opposes and strongly condemns all forms of terrorism and is willing to work with the international community to jointly respond to the threat of terrorism and prevent Afghanistan from becoming a source of terrorism again.
Also, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned the bombings at Kabul airport and called a meeting of the permanent members of the Security Council on Monday to discuss the chaotic situation in Afghanistan.
I'd like to express in the strongest possible way my total condemnation about the horrific terrorist attack in Kabul. To send my condolences to the families of all those that perished, Afghans, and those that were helping there, the Afghans, and died serving the lives of others. I have also asked my special representative to convey directly to Kabul my deep condolences to the Afghan people.
Meanwhile, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said Turkey had held its first talks with the Taliban in Kabul, adding that Ankara was still assessing the insurgent groups' offer to run the Afghan capital's airport. The Turkish president said the talks were held at the military section of the Kabul airport, where the Turkish embassy is temporarily stationed. Erdogan also stated the Taliban now wanted to oversee security at the airport while offering Ankara the option of running its logistics. Turkey had been planning to help secure and run Kabul's strategic airport, but after the attacks on Thursday, it started pulling troops out of the Asian country.
What are their expectations? What are our expectations? You would only know all of this, my friends, by talking. It is impossible to do this without talking. In this regard, if we are talking about diplomacy, we need to say this to people. What is diplomacy, my friends? This is diplomacy. Right now, no such decision on the airport is on the table. Right now, we're bringing back our military and our civilians to Islamabad first, and from Islamabad to Istanbul.
Several Western countries ended the airlifting process in a rush to take home its citizens. Sweden has ended its evacuation mission, taking home about 1,100. Since August 13th, the British forces evacuated close to 14,000 people, including 7,925 under the Afghan Relocations and Assistance Scheme for those who worked with the UK during the war. Around 300 German citizens remain in Afghanistan 1 day after the German military ended its evacuation flights. Berlin has identified 10,000 Afghans in need of protection who are eligible for traveling to Germany. Also, almost 5,000 people have been evacuated from Kabul by the Italian military, and around 12,500 people were evacuated by U.S. forces, raising the number of evacuees since the Taliban took power to over 100,000. We'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back. The Peruvian Parliament resumes this Friday the discussion on the vote of confidence to the Cabinet of Ministers amidst the government's optimism about the approval of the lawmakers towards Pedro Castillo's executive. The head of the Parliament, Maria del Carmen Alva, had suspended the session after day one of discussions, where the Prime Minister Guido Bellido presented the policies of Castillo's government in order to ask for the vote of confidence from the benches that make up the Peruvian Parliament. As part of this Friday's agenda, there are still about 30 legislators to intervene in the plenary. According to spokespersons, some benches have already favorably inclined to the government, while right-wing legislators maintain their criticism. Brazilian justice postponed for September 1st the vote on the so-called time frame that will define the limits of indigenous lands in the country. The process that has been pushed back already on several occasions was newly delayed and set for Wednesday by the Supreme Federal Court President Luiz Fux. Despite that, said Constitution began analyzing a device referred to the time frame according to which natives can only claim the land they inhabited at the time of enactment of the 1988 Constitution. In this context, the indigenous people are still mobilized in protest, fighting the initiative which they consider a setback for their rights of living, and the device destined to facilitate the expropriation of their lands. In Argentina, President Alberto Fernandez and public authorities condemned the attack against Representative Miguel Arias, injured by a shot during the campaign closing act in the Corrientes province. According to official reports, the MP was assaulted by one person carrying a caliber .22 firearm in the area near Paso de los Libres. Arias received a shot to the stomach and is in delicate state. President Fernandez wished him a fast recovery and asked government officials to ensure peace and safety while police tries to identify as soon as possible the person responsible for the crime. Haitian Justice Minister Rockefeller Vincent on Thursday announced the rewards for help leading to the capture of 3 people allegedly involved in the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse, who was assassinated in July at his home by a mercenary group. The reward, amounted more than $60,000 in local currency, will be given to anyone who offers information or captures Wendell Telot-Coq, José Félix Bédiot, and Jean-Joël Joseph, accused of being the masterminds of the assassination. Coq was the only woman on the Court of Cassation before her forced retirement in February by Moïse. The decision was challenged because the executive branch does not have the power to remove senior judges. Bédiot is a former anti-corruption commander and Joseph a former senator. 44 people have been arrested so far as part of the investigation, including 18 Colombians and 2 Haitian Americans. Hurricane watches were issued for several Gulf Coast states as Tropical Storm Ida moved toward the southern United States, with forecasters warning it could rapidly strengthen into one of the strongest storms of the Atlantic hurricane season. According to U.S. National Hurricane Center, storm surge will raise water levels by as much as 1 to almost 2 meters above normal tide levels in areas of onshore winds along the immediate coast of the Cuban Isle of Youth and near and to the east for where the center crosses the coast of western Cuba. Near the coast, the surge will be accompanied by large and destructive waves. Tropical storm conditions are expected in the Cayman Islands and are expected to reach the Isle of Youth and portions of western Cuba in the warning area this Friday. Storm Ida is expected to produce a heavy rainfall. Meanwhile, Tropical Storm Nora, formed over the Pacific Ocean, is moving northwest over the California Peninsula. On Friday, its center was 440 kilometers southwest of Acapulco City, western Mexico, with maximum sustained winds of 80 kilometers per hour. Nora will continue southwest, passing very close to the southwestern and western coast of Mexico on Friday and Saturday. After that, it could approach the southern portions of Baja California on Sunday. Heavy rains and strong winds are forecast over coastal sections of the Mexican states of Oaxaca, Guerrero, Michoacán, Colima, and Jalisco. Brazil goes through the biggest water crisis in 91 years compared to the lack of rain in recent months. The lack of water coincides with the advent of deforestation in the Amazon deepened during the government of Jair Bolsonaro, source of supply for local rivers with an impact at the regional level, as in the case of the Paraná River. The situation endangers the energy supplies since the hydroelectric plants have minimal capacities in their reservoirs and generate 65% of the country's energy. The advance of the deforestation of the Amazon, whose unique ecosystem generates the so-called flying rivers, is one of the reasons that are analyzed in the face of the critical doubt the country is facing. And in the United States, some 14,000 fires battled more than 1,000 large wildfires across California, including a growing blaze that was slowly pushing toward the Lake Tahoe Resort region. Winds and temperatures were expected to pick up in coming days, while humidity drops, adding to the challenges endured by crews working in harsh terrain. Flames churned through mountains just southwest of the Tahoe Basin, a home to thousands and recreational playground for millions of tourists who visit the Alpine Lake in summer, ski the Mana resorts in the winter, and gamble at its casinos year-round. There have been more than 1,000 big fires in California, including one that destroyed 18 homes in Southern California, which has so far escaped the scale of wildfires plaguing the north all summer. And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. On Thursday, over 100 Nigerian students who had been held hostage for 86 days since May in Kaduna State were released by their captors. The release followed by the payment of the ransom. Students from the school Selihu Tango Islamiyya were transferred from Birnin Gwari community to Mina town, where they will be reunited with their families on Friday. On May 30th, gunmen on motorcycles stormed the town and opened fire, killing one person and wounding another. As two people fled, the attackers went to the school and took the children away. The criminal practice of kidnapping students by criminal groups has caused more than 1,000 minors to be deprived of their freedom since December 2020. Authorities announced earlier this month the indefinite closure of schools and institutes due to the complicated security situation. On Friday, thousands of members of the terrorist group Boko Haram hand themselves in the authorities of Maiduguri in the north of Nigeria. Scores of Boko Haram members have been surrendering to soldiers in northeast Borno State without giving handwritten signs to hold asking Nigerians for forgiveness. Even when Nigerian army describes these events as a 12-year campaign success, several experts say the surrenders are probably driven more by Boko Haram's recent losses in fighting with rival terrorists from the Islamic State West Africa province, who pose a bigger threat. Nigeria's conflict has escalated since they erupted in 2009, but the Boko Haram chief's death in May appears to be a major shift in the conflict. International bodies estimate this group has killed around 40,000 people, kidnapped over 500 girls, and displaced around 2 million Nigerians.
Surrendering, I think, is a good thing. Yes, it's a sign of improvement for the nation. So if they surrender, I think it's a good thing to welcome them as citizens back to the nation again.
The United Nations Children's Fund has reported a worrying increase in the number of children who have been victims of explosive devices in Iraq. The UNICEF representative for Iraq, who pointed out that between August 24th and 25th, Two children of 10 and 11 years old died after the unexpected detonation of the remains of explosives that have been scattered after the U.S. invasion. So far this year, the multilateral organization has registered the death of 35 children in that nation and another 41 victims of mutilation. UNICEF have called for accelerated efforts to clear the country of landmines and other unexploded ordnance. Another request concerns with protesting the lives of minors who are the most vulnerable to this type of accidents. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian left for Iraq on Friday to participate in the regional summit. The Islamic Republic's President Ibrahim Raisi has also been invited to the Baghdad summit, but it is not clear if he will attend. The meeting seeks to give Iraq a unifying role to tackle the crisis shaking the region. Other regional heads of states will also attend, such as Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Jordan's King Abdullah II. Leaders from Saudi Arabia and Turkey have also been invited. French President Emmanuel Macron will be the only official expected from outside the region. In Kazakhstan, 4 people were killed and more than 60 injured after an explosion at the munition depot in the Sembril region in the south of the country. The defense minister, Nurlan Yemenvayev, confirmed that the death of 4 soldiers who were trying to extinguish the heavy flames in the military facilities. He added that at least 66 people were injured, including 28 who were rushed to regional hospitals, 6 of whom are in critical condition. Another half-dozen explosions occurred while trying to mitigate the fire in the area, which was evacuated. So far, officials are continuing their investigations to determine the causes of the origin of the fire. Indigenous governments blamed the United States for instigating a national conflict with its army's presence in Pacific waters. China denounced the United States for promoting unilateralism with military antics. Beijing authorities pointed out that the drills the United States and its allies are executing are against the common interest of peace, cooperation, and development for the countries of the region. China's officials also emphasized that with this initiative, the White House intends to show its war power. The Chinese executive called out to the Western nations involved in similar affairs and exhorted them to abandon the Cold War mentality and focus on actions that lead to regional and world peace. We've come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at TeleSUR English. And you can also follow us on social media for all the latest news. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Ray Gomez. Thank you for watching.